Salam to all. Hello again. I'm back. Not with a new tutorial though, but more of an expansion on the last one. In the comment section of the last video, Mr. Acronym asked if I can do a tutorial on how to pull and display one row of data from the database at a time and iterate through them with a button click. Essentially the same as this one, but with one address or one database row that changes on a button click. This was 2 weeks ago, and I apologize profusely for the delayed response. Now, if I understand the question correctly, he would want something similar to this, whereby when I click this link, a record appears, and I click it again, and another record appears. One click, one record. Right. Now, there are a number of ways where we can execute this. Some ways would be more efficient than others. However, I wouldn't recommend pulling one row at a time from the database. Remember that with every query we use server resource, right? Now, it may not matter so much on small apps, but it will certainly be problematic as you scale. So my suggestion for now is to get all the needed rows at once, but we hide them using CSS. How do we do that? Okay, first, let's take a look at what we had the last time. In the last tutorial, we had a link, which when we click, fetches records from the database using AJAX. Now, the database pushes, or the server-side script pushes the data back to the front end in JSON format. And then we parse through these. Let me show you the code. So we fetch the data, and then we parse through the JSON string, and then we convert it into a JavaScript object, and then we iterate through these objects, to get our individual record. Right? So, by the way, I've added a link to the previous tutorial in the description box in case anyone's interested. So how do we do this? What do we do now? Okay, the first thing we need to do is I'm going to disable the button click for now. The click event. Right? Because I would want that when my page loads, everything loads without having to click any button. And then what I would do is, let me just empty that for a second, is I'm going to enclose each row in a container, whether it's div. I'm going to use span here. Just span, classic span. I'm going to add a class called entry to this, to every span, and then I'm going to close it over here. Right, oops, mismatch. Alright, if I save this and we refresh, it will essentially still look the same, except now each of our records are contained. Then, as I've mentioned earlier, we're going to use CSS to hide the records save. When we refresh, they're all hidden now. They're still there, we just can't see them. Now, for the fun part, we change our click event. Let me just make this, we change our click event. Now when we click, we would want to show only one record at a time, instead of earlier, where we show everything at once. To do that, first we need to check if we have hidden objects, like this. If If we have an object with a class or elements, if we have HTML elements with a class named entry that is hidden, we get their number, length. If there are more than one, length, by the way, is a jQuery property that gets the number of objects, a particular object. So in this case, all objects or all elements with a class entry that's hidden, it's going to get how many there are. So now if there are more than one, we can write this way, greater than 0, or we can just write it simply that way, if you like. If there are more than 0 hidden objects, we are going to show them one at a time. We are going to show the first one only, right? So we're going to show the first object with a class name entry that is hidden. We refresh that and we click, and it appears one by one. They appears one. If we add a time delay here, about 300 probably, which should be enough, we should be able to see a sort of a fade-in effect, like that. Alright, now we can also add maybe an else statement here that would say something like alert, that's it, when we have no more hidden objects to display. View load, and I actually don't know how many records are in here. I'm sure any moment now. There. So when everything is already shown or unhidden, it will notify us that that's it. No more hidden objects. And indeed, that is it. I hope you learned something, and thank you for watching. See you next time.